Welcome back to Games at Crick Hollow. Today we're going to be discussing a game called Lizard Wizard. I'm Chris, and with me today is Mike, and we will be also discussing how this game caused us to change the way we grade each game. So let's get into it.
All right, Chris, why don't you give us a little backstory in the game? Give us kind of the intro of it.
Okay, so this is Lizard Wizard. I've got the rules here, and it is a game by Glenn Drover. And it is distributed by Forbidden Games. So let me give you a little backstory on this game. Welcome to Astoria. Astoria is a land pulsing with magic and intrigue. A handful of Arch-Mages are vying for the loyalty of wizards across the land so that they can wield ultimate power. While competing to recruit wizards from 7 unique schools of magic, you will also have to create mystical towers, research powerful spells, summon helpful familiars, and search dark dungeons for gold and items of power. All right, Mike, why don't you start us out with how hard is this game to learn?
Like we said, we changed up kind of our grading system. The first one is just how hard the game is to learn as far as the base mechanics and actually being able to play the game. It doesn't include the grand strategy or kind of learning how to do things. Oh, if I do this, this, and this combo, I can win a little bit better. It's just the basic mechanics of the game and being able to play. A one would be think of blackjack. A five would be Gloomhaven. There's so much to do in Gloomhaven, so much to set up on, so much to remember. So kind of like that. This game, after looking through all of it and playing it and talking about it, learning this game is about a two. You get one action a turn, which we'll talk about when we get to the game mechanics section, and you can do one of six things
Yeah, there you
during
go.
that turn, and that's it. So it's very easy to kind of learn. Your first couple rounds, you kind of waffle back and forth on what you're trying to figure out, and then you kind of just fly through it. But that as we get to the game mechanics, you'll kind of learn some of that.
And kind of the way that I approach a game when I first learn how to play it, when I first get it on the table, is how long does it take me to catch on to the mechanics of the game? Most of the time, it takes me toward the end of the game to, okay, so this is how I'm supposed to do it. Got it. On this game, it took me maybe to turn 3 or 4, maybe 3. Once I got to 3 and started playing the game, then the mechanics, I was like, okay, got it. So a 2 is exactly what number that this game should be. Takes a couple of rounds, maybe 4 tops, to understand the base mechanics of the game.
The second category we're going to talk about is aesthetics and build quality. And to continue with our redefining of these, aesthetics and build quality to us means the art, the type of materials it's made out of, how well the cards are made, how the accessories are done, things like trays, all that kind of combined into one. A Let's say a one would be like tic tac toe, very very simple. A five would be Meadow, which if you watch our previous video, we gave Meadow a five on that, kind of keeping it in the same bracket system as this one. It's just a beautiful game and everything. So, Chris, what did we give this one?
Okay, so this version of the game we gave a 4 because, in our opinion, the everything about this game is, in my opinion, and I think yours too, is top notch.
Yes.
The art, especially, and let me see if I can find it here. I don't know if she's mentioned. Artwork is Annie Steg Gerard, and I don't think she has any information here about her, but she is a wonderful artist. You'll see some of these cards are just unbelievable. The art to me is on par with Meadow.
I
I
agree.
mean, it is just wonderful to look at. Every card in here is just fabulous to look at. The quality of the cardboard is very top notch. You have the tokens that again are thick, nice and thick cardboard. Um, these tokens are smaller, but they're still thick, and the painting on each one is very, very well done.
And double-sided.
Double-sided, and the board itself is just fantastic. And something else that I think you'll agree is when a game comes with trays right out of the bat, off the bat, you can't. I mean, you can't beat a game when it comes with its own trays. Usually, games that especially with the things that this game comes with, sometimes just kind of comes in a punch board with 10 baggies, and you just kind of got to throw them in the box. This did not do that. This came with actual trays, and that's number one in my book. What do you think?
Oh, I agree completely. It was so great just to be able to. When I bought the game, the box wasn't closed all the way. I was kind of worried about that. Did they not plan ahead? Did not put enough in there?
Right.
No, it was just where they had the cardboard still in there. Once you punched everything out, everything fit beautifully in the box. It all fits perfectly. It's got spots for the cards. They're separated. And even when you put these two trays together, the first player token, actually locks in the center to kind of make sure they hold together and don't move. It's just such a good idea. They did such a good job on it.
Yep.
And just to touch back on your art again, that's one thing I loved about going through all these cards, is just seeing the different art on them. All of the lizards.
Lizard wizards.
Say that 7 times fast. Look amazing. They look very good. She did a great job on the art. I'm actually wanting to look up her and see what other things she's done, because I'm actually very impressed with these.
Now, let me ask you a question here. I gave this version a 4. Why did I say that?
Reason being is that this is the retail version that I got to buy and you at home will be able to buy. But the Kickstarter version that Chris was able to get a hold of and other people have out there, we gave a 5.
A 5.
And let me tell you why. So this is the base box. Here is the expanded box art. Look at this. It is beautiful. It is a full bleed on the box. It is very nice. That's not the only reason we stopped there. Show them the other stuff that came with it.
Okay, I will. So this comes with their regular cardboard. These are coins from the base game. The upgraded Kickstarter comes with metal coins. The blue ones are these coins, and the gold ones are these coins. Now, me and Mike both agree that a game that comes with coins, actual metal coins, just makes the game that much better. And
the feel of it just feels so good.
Tactile feel. And these are just, I mean, the blue ones are just so awesome. They just, the way they feel, the way they look, it really changes up the game quite a bit. But that's not all. Next, all the small tokens, like tokens in this box, right? They went to wooden tokens, and they were painted, and they've got kind of stickers on them, and they are wood. So these are wooden tokens and they're pretty nice and thick, right? So these tokens replace the actual tokens that come with the base game. And then you have, this is the regular token, and this is the upgraded token. See how thick it is? It's a big block of wood.
That's a thick boy.
Yeah. And then also, and I'm not quite sure how you use these, but
these we weren't too sure on.
But they're like little, I don't know what you call them, like little stands, I guess. But they're glow in the dark, so that's kind of cool. But pretty much the cards are the same.
The mat
quality. Oh yeah. Also, you get a mat. You get 6 of these, and what they do is they're able to
makes your tableau easier to kind of lay out.
Exactly. It's kind of it organizes your play area a lot better.
When we played without that, we kind of had our cards everywhere,
all over the place, and
we'll get to this in game mechanics, but you kind of want to match wizards with towers, and we were
Right.
sticking them together and kind of had it all weird, but
Right.
that makes it much easier to lay out.
I
And
think, yeah, there we go.
this actually that version comes with a score card, which we'll get into the game mechanics. Is probably the hardest part of the game is the scoring.
Right.
Um,
And that board right
oh
there.
yeah, and this.
And the board, now this board is probably the same.
Yeah.
But in this version, the one that you see on the table here, all of it folds and fits together. This comes in two pieces. And this board, I don't know if you can tell it or not, but it's a dual layered. So there's a base board, and then there's a layer that goes on top of it where you can track each one of these, like Nightshade, Eye of Newt, Mandrake. You track these in a certain way, and we'll explain in a little bit. But this is dual layered, so it makes it a little bit easier to move those pieces without, because here, if you've got them in six and somebody maybe hits the table or they hit it for some reason, oh no, where was it? Here, it's locked in.
It's very hard to actually move that one.
It is. So again, we're giving the upgraded Kickstarter version a 5 because it enhances the game so much more.
It goes above and beyond every little thing, like he's talking about the little notches so something doesn't move, it gets knocked, just all that stuff. I love the feel of metal coins. That's one reason we like Yido so much, is being able to throw the coins and play with them. Kind of makes you feel too like you're actually spending something instead of just here's some cardboard.
That's right.
Okay, the next category is going to be game mechanics. This is the category that took us, I think, about 2 hours of discussion.
Yes, it did.
Where we kept going back and forth on trying to give this a grade. What it did, though, it helped us, it made us figure out that we needed to define what game mechanics actually meant to us in this grading system. What that means is how the game is actually played. We decided to include strategy in that instead of up in how hard it is to learn. It also talks about the flow of the game. Does the game actually play well? Does it go well from one person to the next, or is it actually really clunky? And do mechanics of the game actually interact with each other correctly? What I mean by that is, if I get reagents, do they actually spend well with cards, or is there no point in having these at all? Is it just dumb to have them? Okay, that being said, let's go ahead and I'll tell you how the game is actually played. So, like the early description is, you are an arch-wizard trying to gain favor from wizards and create magical, powerful towers, recruit familiars, and learn very powerful magical spells. The game starts off...
Don't forget going to the dungeon.
And going to the dungeon, which can be...
Oh, yes. It can be frustrating.
It is definitely a risk-reward thing we'll get to in a sec.
Yeah.
So, how the game is set up is, depending on how many players you are, the deck is divided... these three decks are divided into costs. So, you figure how many players you are, you look at the rule book, and you pull the appropriate amount of cards, and you put them into your deck. You put them in the correct play area: wizards, towers, familiars, the dungeon. You shuffle all of them, spells, and you pull out 2 wizards for here, 1 tower, 2 familiars, and 4 spells. You pull out 1 of each reagent, lay them on the bottom track, which I'll get to in a sec, and you pick 4 achievements at random, lay them out. Then everybody who's playing receives 3 of these reagent cards, which we'll get to in a sec what they do. They receive 20 mana. Think of that as your buying power. And they receive 2 of any reagent they want. The nice thing about laying all that out is you can kind of see, oh, I kind of want to get this, so I need to get an Eye of Newt, or what I kind of want to go for. I like these spells, I want to get some of these. So after all that's laid out, there are 6 actions you can take. 6 actions you can take during this game. You can pick 1 per turn. The first action you can do is you can gather resources. What that does is, out of the 3 cards that you have, you gather 3 of these. So say if there's 4 here, you pick which 3 you want. If there's only 3, you only get those 3. And then after you gather, you increase the value of those. So say we played that card, we would increase
We increase the value of 2 of the horns.
So it goes up to 3.
1 of the Eye of Newt.
Eye of Newt goes up.
And 1 of the Nightshade.
And the Nightshade goes up. Why that matters is for the next one. Now, something else on that, if you have wizards, which we'll get to how you get these later, if you have wizards, when you gather resources, each wizard provides you additional resource, which is very cool. You can have 10 max resources in your pile. You get 1 additional for every tower you have. So if I have 4 towers, I can have 14 resources total. So once you spend the reagent card, you throw it into the discard pile, and then you draw a new one. So you always have 3 reagent cards in your hand.
But there could be a spell card that tells you that you can go up a different number. We had a spell card saying that we could have up to 5 in our hand.
Right. In addition to gathering resources, the last thing, you can cast a spell that you have tucked away, which we'll get to in a sec. The second thing you can do is you can sell your resources for mana. So I have a bunch of resources. So that's why this track is important. As you gather resources, the cost goes up.
So let's say that we have 5 on our track. This is a track that tracks money, basically. So let's say you have 5. So in your collection, you have 5 nightshades. So you would turn those 5 nightshades, and it would multiply times 5. 5 times 5 is 25. So you would get 25 of the mana to spend in a different way.
Now, the other part on that, though, is by every one that you sell to the market, it goes down by 1. So we sold 5, it goes down by 5, which means it dropped the price down to 1. So you kind of got to watch that. If Chris is before me and he has a bunch of Nightshade and I wanted to sell my Nightshade and he sells it before me, my Nightshade is worthless at that point. The next action you can do is you can build a tower. What you do with that is you can either pay the gold cost or you can pay the reagent cost. So this is one of the base towers. It costs 1 Eye of Newt or 1 gold. So you'd pay that, you get this, put it onto your tableau. This is one of the decks that as you go through it gets more expensive. Eventually, each tower costs 2 of a resource or 2 gold, 3, and I think 4. I think 4 is the max.
I think so.
4 is the max it gets to. So you kind of got to weigh, okay, how quickly do I want to get my towers versus getting other things. The next thing you can do is get a wizard. Here's where the game changes. There's a really cool aspect to me. Say I want this red wizard because red is my favorite color if you haven't been able to tell through all these videos. So I want to get the red wizard. Well, I have a pool of mana in my hand. I have to battle against the other mages to see who is willing to pay the most mana to get this wizard.
So we bid on the wizards.
So I start with, let's say I have 20 mana. Oh, I'm going to bid 5.
Okay. I see that he needs that wizard, and he wants that wizard really bad. So I say, I don't think I'm going to let him have it. So I say, no, I bid 10.
Well, again, I really want the wizard. It's red. I have to have it. 15.
Okay, so I look at my pool. I've got 20 mana left. I'm like, okay, go ahead. I pass.
And I take it, and I put it to my tableau. Here's the cool thing, though. Say Chris does really, really not want me to have that, and he bids the 20, and I'm like, you have to be able to increase the bid. So if I had 20 and he had 20, he bids 20 first. I can't go higher, so he automatically wins. And the bidding keeps going around that until everyone passes and someone gets it. But it was my turn. I wanted to buy the wizard. I lost the wizard. It goes to Chris. I get to immediately take another turn. So you don't lose your turn that time. So that's a really cool mechanic that I liked about this.
And the reason I think I like that kind of mechanic is because if I'm bidding against Mike for this wizard and I end up winning it, I have to pay my mana. Well, I've got 20. All my mana's gone. He still has 20. He flips the next wizard over, and lo and behold, it's a card he actually needs. So now he says, okay, I want this wizard. He sees I don't have any mana left. He goes, oh, I'll go 1, 2. Well, I've got to pass. So now he has gotten a wizard for 2 mana because I wasted all mine fighting for this one.
Yep.
So it's you got to kind of watch what's going on and what you're doing. If you don't, then it could end up being that way.
It's really cool, and I like the fact, like you said, that you don't lose your turn, because
Right.
there's so many games out there where if you just fail to win the bid, you're just done.
That's right.
So it kind of like, I really like that about this. It was one of the things that really made me enjoy this game. So the next step you can do is you can purchase a spell. There's always 4 spells out. You can read through them. I'll flash some up on the screen now for you so you can keep some little ones. And that's one thing in the game I did want to touch on. Spells are very important. Some of them are, remember when I said you only have 10 reagents you can hold? One of the spells is increase your reagent ability by 10. So that gives you 20. Which, could you imagine if you had 20 Nightshade when you went to sell that?
Yeah.
It's 100 mana right
20
there.
times 10. Yeah, you've and the more mana you have, the better position you are to be able to fight to get those wizards or other things in the game.
Yep. And when you purchase the spell, you are allowed to cast it right there if you have the reagents to cast it.
Okay.
There is a
let's
cost.
let's take a look. So the 5 here is how much you have to pay in mana for this spell. But you also have to pay the price down here to actually cast that spell. So that's another important thing to look at when you're getting a spell, is you want to try to make sure that you have the reagents in order to cast it the second that you purchase it.
The next thing you can do is you can purchase a familiar. Now, the familiar is the one that has the most actions on it that you can do. So it's the cost of familiar up here. This is another one that increases every so often. So the base cost of familiars are 5, then it goes to 10, to 15, to 20. I think 25 is the max.
Yep.
25 mana per familiar. When you buy the familiar, you choose one of 4 things. You can research new powers. What that does is that gets rid of all the spell cards that go on the bottom of the deck. You draw 4 new spell cards, and you pick one of those spell cards, and you can take it. You cannot cast it, but you can take it.
That is very powerful.
Yes, we did that a few times in our last playthrough, and it gave us all a really good card we needed.
That's right.
Second thing you can do is you can gather the resources that are here. This one is collect 3 mandrakes, and then you can cast any number of spells that you want. So say you have bought a bunch of spells and didn't have the reagents and stuff to cast it, you got that, and oh look, I have enough, and you can cast like 4 spells right in a row.
Yep.
Because a lot of actions like gather resources says you can only cast 1 spell. When you purchase the card, you can only cast the spell that you purchased. So it's kind of a really nice thing. The third mechanic is 1 gold per that type of card. Up here in the right hand corner, you see the star. This is an enchantment card, type of card. There are enchantment wizards, there are enchantment towers, there are enchantment spells that you can cast. For every one of those cards you have up on your tableau, you would receive 1 gold from that. So say I had 2 enchantment towers and 2 enchantment wizards and this. That would give me 5 gold. And at the end of the game, each gold is worth a victory point, or you can use that to buy more towers. So the last thing you do, in a very, very neat mechanic, is you can enter the dungeon. The dungeon is a risk reward, mostly risk when it comes to us, because we kept failing.
Yep.
Mechanic where you you send your familiar to the dungeon and try to bring back treasure. You pick up the deck. You start to go through the deck.
So we'll try to do this for you. Okay, so the way it works is you start flipping over cards in the dungeon, and as long as you get treasure, you can continue to go. Once you hit a monster, you have to decide, is the treasure that I've gained good enough and take it into your tableau, or should I push my luck? Because if you get a second monster, everything that you've earned or everything that you've turned over goes back in the deck. You don't get anything. Okay, so let's enter the dungeon. Okay, so the first card is going to be, a treasure, a
This,
necklace.
this is one of two types of treasure. You have items and you have gold cards. When you get a gold card, you instantly get that gold. Item cards, at the end of the game, if you have the most item cards, you get more victory points, which we'll get to in a bit.
Okay. Next one is,
No, another item.
some emeralds. Next card, it's a monster card. So now I have to decide, do I want to push my luck or do I want to say, okay, I'm done and take the 2 items that I have and put them into my tableau? I think I'll push my luck. Let's see what happens.
This is where we get into trouble usually.
Ooh, got a treasure card.
This gives him 2 gold.
Now, another decision. Do I stop or do I continue to go? Oh, man, I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and push my luck. Oh, I got another treasure. Now, most of the time, we would say, that's it. That's enough.
We
we're
would stop
done."
there.
But I don't think so. I think I'm going to try one more. Oh, no. So I got the ogre. So I pushed my luck too hard. I got 2 monsters. So now guess where all these cards go? That's right. Back in the deck. And
Yep.
you shuffle it and you put it back. So the risk and reward part of it is you've got to decide how much reward you're willing to settle with and how much risk you're willing to take.
Because once you run into 2 monsters or take 2 hits, because there is some trap cards you can add that automatically hit you twice, you lose everything that you had. But if you hit 1 hit, you're like, I got to quit. And you pull out, you get to keep everything you've gotten to that
That's
point.
right.
But if you're as unlucky as us, your first 2 pulls are monsters sometimes.
I went in one of the games we played. I went in the dungeon 4 times, and every time, ogre, witch, giant, golem. I'm like, man, what is going on here?
And I'd go in right behind him and be
I was doing he would go treasure, 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 monster. I'm done. Oh, frustrating. But that's the fun part of the game. It's just that push your luck kind of element is really fun.
Right. So the game ends. So that's the 6 actions that you can take. We go through all of them? Yes, that's the 6 actions that you can take. The game ends when one of these decks runs dry, even the spell deck. When you get down to all the cards are gone, even the ones that are out, the game ends. So it's possible to rush through a deck, which I don't recommend. The game will be kind of boring then, and end the game fast. At the end of the game, you score, and I'm going to read these off of here. This is the part that, and I'm going to put this up on the screen for you, but this is the part of the game that's probably the hardest part of the game, is the scoring. You gain points for every wizard that is in a tower that is not matching. So if I have a conjuring wizard in an alchemy tower, I get 5 points. For every wizard that is in a matching tower, so a conjuring wizard in a conjuring tower, I get 10 points. Every spell card that you cast with a matching wizard and tower, so if I have a conjuring wizard and a conjuring tower and I cast a spell from the conjuring school, I've actually cast it so it's on the table, I get 5 more points. So you can gain a lot of points that way. If you quickly get a necromancy tower, a necromancy wizard, and you cast a bunch of necromancy spells, that's 5 points, 5 points, 5 points, 5 points every time.
Yep.
This is why it's important to have pairs. Every unpaired wizard and unpaired tower is worth 1 point. So that's not a lot. Every gold coin, like I mentioned earlier, is worth 1 point. Some spells give you additional victory points. One I had is for every necromancy card that you have, you get plus 3 points. So that helps. This is one. You get tower card, you get plus 1 victory point for each tower. Pretty helpful. The person that has the most items that I showed you, not treasure, most items, gets 10 points. The second most gets 5. If there's ties, each person gets it. Pretty nice.
Yep.
Achievement tiles. This is one thing we didn't go over.
Nope.
Like I said at the beginning of the game, you get 4 achievement tiles at random. At the end of your turn, if you meet any of these requirements, you get that tile. Each tile is worth 10 points. This one, for instance, is have 10 enchantment cards. That can be 10 familiars, 2 familiars, 2 towers, 1
As
wizard,
long as they got
spells.
enchantment written on the card, it counts.
Right. And the alchemy for this one's have 7 Nightshade, and this one's have 7 necromancy cards. One of them was like have 10 gold. I know we saw that one. There's some other ones that we've seen.
Yeah, one had 10 or 7 sulfur, and that's the one. In the last game we played, Mike won that one.
Yeah. And the nice thing about that is usually at that point the sulfur track's pretty high, and you can just sell the sulfur.
That's right. That's right.
So, but that is basically how you play the game. That being said, Chris, what do we give this game?
Okay, so again, we're going between 1 and 5. 1 being the worst strategy, the worst put together game that you can imagine. 5 being
Oregon Trail.
the most perfect flow. Everything is, every time you make a move, it's fun. It's just most perfect game that you could imagine. We're going to give this game a 3.5. Now, we're going to explain to you exactly why we gave it a 3.5. And this is where a really hard discussion between several players came into play. So, Mike, why don't you give us a little bit of information about that?
So we kept arguing, was strategy part of the game mechanics? Because we kept looking at this and trying to figure out, oh, well, the game just plays well. Because it does. It does play well together, which is why it has a 3.5. The game works well together. It kind of flows really well together. The issue is that the strategy in this game can be very hard to grasp. The more you play it, the better you're going to be at it. But it can be very hard to be like, oh, I got to remember to make sure I get all these combinations. The scoring was very hard to do in this game. So that's brought the score down for us some. Because we had some players at the table that one of our players, it was even towards the end of the game, they were having a very hard time being like, well, I don't know where I need to go or what I need to get this stuff to make my score go up. They had a rough idea. They knew how to play the game, but they kind of shoehorned themselves into one point. One game we played, the guy liked to go through the dungeon, so he kept going through the dungeon over and over again, which is a very fun mechanic. We would all laugh and have a good time at it, but he didn't score very many points because the most you can get, well, I mean, you can get some gold to get more points, but after a while, you run out of treasure.
That's right.
So you have the most points, you get your 10 points, and that's it. So it's not so easy to grasp the strategy of how to actually win the game. So it pulled the score down for us. What do you think?
Well, I agree. And one of the things that we discussed was that you're spoiled for choice.
Yes.
So when you're looking at this game and you're playing, not only do you have to decide on your strategy, but you have to kind of pay attention to what every other player's strategy is. So what I kind of thought was a little bit difficult for me was I knew that I wanted to do this strategy. Well, all of a sudden, I saw Mike was getting a lot of the wizards paired with the towers, and so now I had to concentrate on making sure that he didn't get those. So I had to spend my mana on trying to prevent him from getting the towers and the wizards combination. Well, once you do that, it sort of disrupts your strategy because you have to kind of prevent him from doing what he wants to do. Now you come back to you and like, okay, now I kind of got to build back up a little and I've got to try to get back into my strategy. And then another player may all of a sudden start going toward their win condition. You got to kind of slow them down, and vice versa. You are slowing me down, trying to keep me from doing my strategy. So uh, I want to. We kind of batted around the word clunky because the flow is nice, like Mike said, but it clunks a little bit here and there when you are, trying to implement your strategy, but you have to kind of stop to prevent another player from meeting their strategy and their goal. Another thing that we kind of had to separate was, remember in the first part of this video, I said the base mechanics. Like I said, a base mechanic is purchasing a wizard purchasing a tower, getting the combination, purchasing a spell and doing what the spell says, going through the dungeon. Those are easy mechanics to figure out. But when you combine it with strategy, it changes those mechanics a little bit to where it's a little bit more challenging, and a little, you have to pay attention to what you're doing and what everyone else is doing. How would you categorize that the same way?
I think you hit the nail right on the head there. That's what our part of our big discussion was. Like we keep saying, is we had to figure out, okay, what exactly does game mechanics mean to us? And game mechanics may mean something different to you, but in the context of our videos and how this is going to be graded, that's how we do it. In fact, what do you think game mechanics are? Leave us a comment down below. Let us kind of know. Maybe you have a better idea than we do,
Right.
and we may change it to that. Heck, we're just two human beings, having fun playing games and giving you our opinions.
Yeah.
So,
Do you think game mechanics is strategy and the way the game is played combined? Do you think they should be separate? What are your thoughts? Okay, so looking at the mechanics of the game and looking at strategy, how long would you give this game in playtime?
well, the box on the game says I think 90 to 120 minutes. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And I would 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
The game does take a while because, I mean, you got all of these wizards or all of these towers or all these familiars, and you're not just buying from one set.
Yep.
Before the game ends, you have to deplete one of these piles. It does take that long, especially your first playthrough when people are trying to just kind of get stuff together. It takes it a bit.
Yep.
And depending on how many people go through the dungeon slows the game down, but it's also a very fun mechanic. It doesn't feel like it's slowing the game
It
down.
is. Yeah.
But you'll look up and 2 hours will have passed.
Yep.
This is not a quick game.
No.
This is a game you're going to sit down. You're going to want to play, with people who are board gamers or people who have the time to actually play it. Or you can't just sit down and play a quick 15-minute game with
Right.
that. The time frame definitely on the box is right on the nose for
Right
me.
on the money, correct. Okay, the next category is going to be replayability. So this game we gave a solid 3. Now, Mike, can you explain to me why we gave it a 3?
Yes, this is another thing that we defined basically as how often do I want to play this game, or do I want to play this game again? That can be anything from how fun the game is, how long the game is, the variety. Is there a lot of different things? Is the game the same all the time? How long does it take to set the game up versus actually playing it? Because there's some games out there that take forever to play, and then you can have one bad thing happen and the game's over. Zombicide is one of those games. Theme of the game, is the game pretty enough to make me want to come back and keep looking at it? Things like that. A 1 would be Oregon Trail. And I want to say, if you like the card game Oregon Trail, great. We just, however, do not.
Not one of our games.
It is sitting on my shelf, and as soon as I can trick somebody into taking it, they will. A 5 would be
a game that we reviewed earlier in the year, which is Yido. Now, if you haven't seen that review, check out our channel and check out the review on that game, because it is pretty fantastic game.
There is a lot of variety in it. The game is beautiful. It has the coins that we like, things like that. We actually think about that game. We want to play it. This game, we gave it a 3 because the setup time is minuscule. It's not very bad.
Nope.
You do get to play it long enough. The theme is beautiful. We love thinking about the game. There is some variety to the game, especially with the spells. We have not been through half of the spells because we keep...
I think we get through I think the first game we got through 4, and the last game we played, I think we got through 12.
Yeah.
And you can see the stack. There's probably 75 cards there, you think?
There is.
Yeah.
And there's some duplicates, which is nice because each of you want to have the one that gives you plus 10, but there's enough variety there to keep the game interesting. And of course, the achievements are different every time.
That's right.
And there's different ways you can go about winning the game, which is part of why we like it.
That's right.
But there are some things, like he said, it is, for lack of better terms, I call it big brain game, where you have to keep track of everything you're doing, everything that all your opponents are doing. That kind of brings it down a step. You can't just beer and pretzels this. shut your brain off and play and have fun. There's some other little things like that. Like, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I feel the same way. When when I look at a game that I want to play, and this is maybe with your family or it may be with your play group. You come in and let's say that you've decided as the host that you have not decided what game you want to play. So you come in and you say, "Okay, guys, what do you want to play?" Do you look on the shelf and say, "Hey, we haven't played Lizard Wizard. Let's play that tonight." Or, "I really like that game. Let's pull it off the shelf and play it." You know, Yido, like Mike said, every time I go to his house to play a board game, Yido is always mentioned. "Hey, you want to play Yido?" "Yeah, that's. I think we ought to." Is that game this? And being at a 3, it's not. It's, "How about Lizard Wizard?" "Well, yeah, we haven't played it in a while. Yeah, let's go ahead and play it." Or, "No, I think I'd rather play something else." So it's in the middle of the road. It's not, "Oh no, we're not playing that game."
It's not.
And
Oh, look,
it's,
there's Oregon Trail. Burn it.
yeah, and it's not, "Oh, we've got to, if I come, hey, if I come over, we're playing Lizard Wizard or I'm not coming over."
Right.
It's in the middle of the road. So, and I think that's a fair assessment of this game because of all the things we mentioned.
The game is very fun, very enjoyable. There's just some games I would choose over this game, but you definitely get your money's worth with this game.
That's right.
You get to. There's a lot of difference. There's a lot of variety. Like, I keep saying that, but there's a lot of variety in the game, and you can have fun with it. It's
And the
definitely one that
game
you can
is
pull out.
fun. That's the big thing. Is it fun? It is. It's a blast to play.
And it is up to 6 players, which, so if you have a bunch of people come over, you can play the game.
That's right.
It's very hard to find a game that is over 4 players, and this one does have 6 players, so a bunch of us could play it. And the game is generally, I haven't played a 6-player game, but I think with the stacks depleting faster, and if everybody's on the ball, it may actually go back down to that 90-minute mark.
think
It may
so,
actually
yeah.
be faster.
Yep.
So it's definitely good, but sometimes you have to put in the time commitment too. That's something that brings the score down. This is a 90 to 120-minute game. It's
That's right.
not something like Splendor, which you can pull out and play in 25 minutes.
Yeah.
If people aren't paying attention, that game
right.
goes super fast
That's right.
and super fun. So I think that's a very fair assessment with a 3.
It is.
It's perfect. It's right there. It's not something I would take off my shelf. It's going to be there. And when I go through my list of things to try to play it, Al will definitely stop and be like, "Hey, what about Lizard Wizard?"
Yeah, we haven't played that in a while. Let's play that one.
Let's pull it out and we play it.
Okay, so we've looked at the difficulty of the game. We've looked at how the game plays. Now, as of the airing of, or the recording of this video, what's the availability of this game?
You can get this game. You can get it from the manufacturer. You can get it from Amazon. Of course, we recommend going to your local game store, especially after the difficulties over the last couple of years. Game stores some are struggling, so please support your local game store
Yes.
first. This game will run you between $50 and $60, depending on where you purchase it at. It is definitely worth that price point. You can see everything you get here, and
Yes.
of course, like we talked about the trays and everything
Yeah.
like that, it is 100% worth that price point.
There are games that are more expensive than this with baggies. So
Yeah.
this is well worth the price.
Right. And now, one thing that we alluded to earlier, as of the time of the recording of this video, you can purchase from the manufacturer a premium upgrade kit that comes with the wooden tokens,
The wooden tokens,
the metal coins,
the metal coins,
and
it comes with 6 of these mats.
those mats.
These are really nice. It really enhanced the game.
I was so excited when I found that out. I instantly purchased it. The problem is that it's about the same cost as the game to get those upgrades. But you're thinking wooden and metal and all the neoprene and everything. Look, I think it was free shipping though, so that's good. That's something, right?
But really, if you are a person that wants a game and wants all the bells and whistles, it is really worth it. It really is.
That's really nice. And the fact that you can still get those at this time, run out and get it if you want to get these games. Buy it quickly before they go away, because it's only things they have left over from the Kickstarter.
That's right.
So Hopefully they'll keep producing them and maybe sell them at cons and stuff, because
Yeah.
that'll be nice. But I like some other board game companies do. But definitely, you can definitely get your hands on this game if this interests you. All right, so the very last category we have is, would you recommend this game? And Chris, would you recommend this game?
I would absolutely recommend this game. The beauty of it, the many things that you can do, the different avenues of victory that you can take, the replayability of it, the accessibility of it. Yes, this game is a high recommendation on my list. What would you say?
I agree completely with everything you just said, and just the cost versus what you get. Like we said, there's some board games you buy that you don't get half of this stuff for more sometimes, and it's just because of, I guess, the art cost or whatever.
Yeah.
But this is definitely one, especially if you have a group that's an odd number, that's not 1 to 4. This is a 6-player game. Those are hard to find.
They are.
This is really good, and it's a solid game. The mechanics are good. It's very fun. Once you And again, we played this game maybe 2 or 3 times. After 7 or 8 times, the scoring may become second nature to us.
That's right.
So definitely give this game a try. Go out there, get it, add it to your collection, put it in your rotation. I know I am.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely a game. Even the base game where you don't get all the bells and whistles, it is still worth. I mean, the trays are just the way the game is packaged. It's easy to get in. It's easy to put away. Yeah, this is just a fantastic game that is well worth the money. Okay, and that's our review of Lizard Wizard. We really do think that you'll enjoy this game. We both added it to our collections, and uh, it really is a fantastic game. So that's it for this review. My name is Chris. This is Mike, and you're watching Games at Crick Hollow. Until next time, we'll see you.